Hi, I'm Danielle. Welcome to my perfume journal. Every month, I recap my most worn perfumes and I share some of the fragrant highlights from the month that I wrote in my perfume journal, including my sample of the month and my perfume of the month. And usually, I consider my most worn perfumes as the ones I have worn more than twice during the course of the month. But this month, I wore a lot of perfumes exactly twice. So I'm going to share the perfumes that I wore 3 times or more as my most worn for April. So there were 2 perfumes that I wore 3 times this month. And first we have Chanel Chance Eau Splendide. This is the newest release in the Chance line. It just came out in April. And I was really happy that the wonderful Chanel associate at my local mall gave me 2 samples to try out, as well as this little chalk and porcelain air freshener. It's so cute. And I took these 2 samples with me on vacation and I blew through them in like a matter of days. And if you would like to hear an excellent description of this perfume, Chelsea from Perfume on the Porch has placed this perfume on her spring tray. So I'm going to link that video down below. And to echo Chelsea's wonderful thoughts on this perfume, this is not like anything new per se, but honestly, that does not take away from the beauty of this perfume, not one bit. Chance Eau Splendide is basically a raspberry rose violet perfume, but instead of being like classically powdery or lipsticky or dry, it's very fresh, it's very cheerful, it's even a little bit watery and dewy. And you can totally see from the advertisements that this is marketed to a younger audience. But I think that this perfume is one that anyone of any age can enjoy. I really loved wearing this outdoors. It just kind of like wafted all around me as I walked. It was perceptible for sure, but it was never heavy. It was never oppressive, but it was also not like fleeting either at the same time. It lasted while I was outside. It's just a really pretty perfume. I like perfumes that are serious and conceptual, perfumes that make me think, but I also love perfumes that are just easy. They're like that friend that you haven't seen in ages. You can just sit down, you can have a cup of coffee, and it's like no time has passed between you. And that is the kind of perfume that I think Chance Eau Splendide is to me. It's like an old friend who's just easy to be with. And I'm still deciding on whether or not I'd like to add this into my collection. It's leaning strongly into like the yes, but I will definitely let you know if I do. I also reached for Sarah Jessica Parker's Lovely 3 times this month. So this is the time of year when I'm really craving some lovely. Lovely to me is like an easy reach floral that's just a little bit more substantial than some of my other easy reach florals. I think it's the light dose of patchouli, the lavender, and the narcissus that gives this perfume just a little bit more heft to it, and I really like that. I absolutely love narcissus in a perfume. So, like, narcissus can go a little dirty, a little skanky. It can kind of smell maybe like a little sweaty, not like cumin can in a perfume, but more like the way sweat smells immediately after you've had like a good workout, like clean sweaty, not like festering sweaty. And I love florals that have just like that little something something about them that keeps them from feeling like generic or boring. And this perfume to me sits exactly in that neighborhood. It's like this is the perfume that would occasionally be cited by their HOA for painting the front door an unapproved color, even though the rest of the house was perfectly manicured and kept up. It's like it's clean and fresh and pretty, but underneath it all, there's just a little something there that gives it a little edge. It's not like subversive. It's just like, I'm not your average floral, so don't mistake my kindness for weakness. You know what I mean? And I've said this before, but I will say it again. If you are looking for a really good quality, very affordable perfume, you cannot go wrong with Sarah Jessica Parker as a choice. I think her perfumes are excellent. They are maybe a little bit offbeat. You have to like a little bit of offbeatness in your perfumes to get on with her brand. And so Lovely is always a good choice for me. and I think it's definitely going to be time to upgrade to a bigger bottle. So the perfume that I wore 4 times this month is the only perfume that I own and have ever owned a backup bottle of, and that is Violet Ida from Miller Harris. And if I had to reduce my collection down to like 5 perfumes, say, this is absolutely one of the perfumes that would make the cut. I cannot be without this perfume. I will never not shout this one from the rooftops. I will also be a broken record in describing this perfume as lipstick on a bunny. And what I mean by that is that the cornerstone notes of Violet Ida to me are carrot seed and orris root. And when you distill this perfume down to like the pure essence of what it is, carrot seed and orris root are the key players. So orris and iris materials in general give a perfume like a very powdery, a very rooty, and kind of like a softly earthy quality to it. In this perfume, the orris is the lipsticky part of the perfume. It's a little bit waxy, it's a little bit buttery, it's both dry and creamy at the same time, just like a good tube of old-fashioned lipstick. And the carrot seed, really the carrot seed combined with the heliotrope, that is what gives it the fluffiness. To me, that's the bunny part of the perfume. Now, here's something I learned recently about this perfume. I have always kind of like lamented that Violet Ida is not a violet perfume. So to me, it's really all about that gorgeous orris butter in the heart of it. So Nick Gilbert, who you may know as a perfume expert, he has worked in the perfume industry for years and years. He had this really excellent podcast at one time, and now he is partners with perfumer Pia Long in their brand Eau de Boujee. And I will leave a link to their site and their socials down below. Nick is one of the people who worked on Violet Ida for Miller Harris. So I knew that Violet Ida was named for Ida, the character in the book Brighton Rock. And in fact, Miller Harris had like a whole series of perfumes based on that book. But what I didn't know is that it is so named because Ida actually wore violets in her hair. So immediately that made me love the name. It made me understand it better. I don't know how I missed that little tidbit of information, but honestly, it was even better learning it directly from Nick. Nick is amazing. He is a wealth of information. He's super brilliant. He and Pia are like a force to be reckoned with in the perfume industry. I admire them both tremendously. So Violet Ida is probably going to be seen a lot on this channel, and that's just how it's got to be because it is most definitely in my top 3 perfumes in my entire collection. And finally, my most worn perfume of the month is Shalimar L'Initiale. So my good friend Shelby, thank you Shelby, sent me this incredibly generous fat decant of Shalimar L'Initiale. And I say incredibly generous because 1, this Shalimar flanker is discontinued, and 2, it is super, super hard to find. It's like a unicorn now. And she was like, Danielle, you absolutely need to smell this Shalimar. The perfume community is like ripe with the most generous, wonderful people. So thank you again, Shelby, for sharing Shalimar L'Initiale with me. So this flanker of Shalimar is what I call the Pretty Pink Princess flanker. I think it comes in one of the prettiest Shalimar bottles. It has this little blue tassel and the soft pink liquid inside of the beautiful vessel. And I think this is a really good Shalimar flanker because it really does smell like the original Shalimar. It's got that beautiful tonka, it's got the vanilla, the iris, the rose, and of course that classic opening of the bergamot. It's all very recognizable, it's all very Shalimar-esque. But the L'Initiale perfume has a really interesting combination of green notes, vetiver, and then in the base there is caramel. And it sounds super weird, I know, but trust me, it works. And I know that it works because I absolutely despise caramel in a perfume. And I always know that a perfume is really, really good when it makes me love a note that I don't normally enjoy. And this is definitely one of those perfumes. I have seen this flanker kind of described as a fruit choulis, like in the neighborhood of Coco Mademoiselle. But personally, I do not get that in Shalimar L'Initiale at all, like 0%. I think that this perfume is soft and powdery, I think it's a little bit sweet, it's a little bit dry, it's a little bit bright, and it's altogether very, very alluring. It's like a pink ball gown of a scent. Like, this is what Glinda from Wicked might wear. And I wore this perfume a total of 11 times this month. 11 times. And so what that is telling me is that it is time for me to get a Shalimar into my collection already. I have mentioned before that I have had a really hard time picking a Shalimar because I'm super indecisive when it comes to selecting like what I consider a significant perfume purchase. And to me, Shalimar is like a significant perfume purchase. And two, I've had a hard time choosing because I love so many of the Shalimars so much. So as of right now, I'm kind of leaning into the Eau de Cologne. I have a little bit left in my sample, maybe 2 wears left, and I really want to see how I like that one outside before I make a final decision. But I do think it is safe to say that it is time for Danielle and Shalimar to make their good acquaintance, and that is probably going to happen very soon. So let's just do a quick flip through of my journal this month, since this channel is called the Perfume Journal. My theme this month was these cute little otters, and I will make zero apologies for having a perfume journal with juvenile stickers all over them, because I feel like we got to hold on to the joys of youth, don't we? Like, now that I'm in my mid-50s, I am not embarrassed at all for loving what I love, having fun with the things I enjoy, and not worrying about what other people think about my cute little otter stickers. So this is my daily diary of my scents of the day and my scents of the night. So then I have my color-coded trackers for my scents of the day and scents of the night. This is the scent of the day page. And I think these are looking so much fun now that I have 4 months of like data in them. And mostly what I can see during the month of April is that I am still a floral girl. I'm reaching for a lot of florals. There's an occasional woody perfume in there and a freshie. And it seems like for my scents of the day, I'm reaching mostly for designer and celebrity perfumes lately, with some niche perfumes kind of thrown in for good measure. And for my scents of the night, again, it's mostly florals. It's a mix of designer and niche perfumes, but I did have quite a few blanks in the month of April where I did not wear perfume at night, and that's when we were on vacation and it was late at night that we were hitting the hay, and I was just like way too knackered to even be bothered putting on a perfume. So fewer scents of the night during the month of April because of vacation. And then we have the most worn tracker. This is where I keep track of how many times I wear each perfume. And at the end of April, it turns out that I wore a total of 21 perfumes from my collection and 11 samples. And it was lots of samples this month because I took samples with me on vacation. This is my ins and outs page where I keep track of everything I have brought into my collection and everything that left my collection. This was a super fun month. I will share more about this in detail in my next video, the April installment of Perfume Collecting for Regular People, where I also share my budget and all of my spending down to the penny. I added 7 bottles, 14 samples, 2 hand creams, a lotion, a soap, a vintage dusting powder, a perfume oil, and an e-magazine to my overall perfume collection this month. Some of these things were purchases and others were swaps or gifts. And again, you'll see a little bit more about this in detail in the next video. And I decluttered 3 bottles, 23 samples. I made 6 decants to send to friends, and I gave away a hair mist to a friend as well. And then I have my sample log of the samples I tested out when I was not on vacation. So in my April samples video, I shared some of the highlights of the 189 perfumes that I actually sampled and took notes on while I was on vacation. But at the end of the month, I actually tested a total of 194 perfumes in all. And the ones that I sampled when I was not on vacation, there were 6 of them here. Yep, 6. I really loved most of them. Some of them were just likes, and I'm kind of sitting on a few of the loves to see if they will end up on my wish list after I finish up the samples. So 2 sampling highlights this month came from Eau de Boujee from Nick Gilbert and Pia Long that I talked about a little bit earlier in this video. So I sampled Gilded, and that perfume is gorgeous. It literally smells like liquid molten gold. I also sampled Ashoka from Neela Vermeide Creations. That is a gorgeous, creamy, spiced fig perfume. It is just exquisite. Both of these perfumes were samples that my friend Roshan shared with me in a swap. Thank you again, Roshan. I loved smelling these two samples, and I can't wait to sit down and take time smelling the rest of the things you sent me. But one sample that kind of disappointed me is called Mon Dieu from L'Eau de Boujee. I cap smelled this one over at Harrods, and in the moment I thought I really liked it. I thought it was going to be kind of like lipsticky, powdery, cosmetic floral, which you know I love. But on skin, this one kind of turned into a weird hodgepodge. It was like an overly sweet, overly woody, borderline boozy scent, and that scent profile just really doesn't work for me. So I was really appreciative that the sales associate gave me a nice sample when she saw I was sort of interested in it at the counter. Even though it didn't work, I'm glad I got to sample it properly. And some of the highlights of this month were most certainly my vacation to London, where I visited 9 perfume shops or department stores. I met up with Cassandra from Skin Sense for Fuss Pots. She was an absolute delight. We swapped fragrances. And I also met up with my friend Lorelei for 2 glorious days of perfume sniffing with my perfume pals. Nothing better than that. What a fantastic, fantastic month for a perfume enthusiast. And finally, my sample of the month for April is Chanel Chance Eau Splendide. I chose this for 2 reasons. One, the perfume. It's delightful. It's lovely. I really enjoyed wearing it. And secondly, I chose it because over the last several years, I really have not gotten too excited about a lot of new releases. In fact, I've kind of been a little bit of a curmudgeon about them. Like, in my day, we didn't have 6,000 perfumes to choose from in a year. We had 100 and we liked it. I was actually super excited about this new release, and I'm happy to say it lived up to my expectations and even exceeded it. So yay. And finally, my perfume of the month is Shalimar L'Initiale. I guess technically this is a sample because I only have a decant of this, but I'm calling this my perfume of the month because I literally could not get enough of wearing this. It solidified my love of Shalimars. It convinced me that I absolutely need some bottle of Shalimar in my life very, very soon. Shalimar is a classic perfume. We are spoiled for choice with all of the options of Shalimars to find our own personal Shalimar to love and enjoy, and this has really inspired me to do just that. And so there we are, my most worn perfumes for April, some of the highlights from my perfume journal from the month. And I always have a lot of fun like looking back every month on my hobby, kind of like when you finish a jigsaw puzzle and you stand back to like admire it. I love all of the ways that perfume weaves its way through the many aspects of my life. Wearing it, learning about it, reading about it, hearing other people talk about it, connecting with other people who love it, discovering it, thinking about it, all of those things, and then recording it in my perfume journal. It's just a wonderful thing to be involved in. I'm having so much fun now making videos about it too. It's such a great creative outlet for something that I love so, so much. So thank you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for connecting with me, for chatting about perfumes with me in the comments, and for sharing all of the ways that perfume weaves its way in and out of your lives. I love that so, so much. I'm very appreciative to all of you, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.